Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. To those that want to support me, please, you can click the link in the comment section. That is a short video that I posted on Facebook. So the link is in the comment section, and I am asking for your support on Facebook as well. The message that I have for you, it reads like this. Hello, Badananshi, how are you? Can you please post my story as hidden identity? I am a Zimbabwean woman, and this is my own confession. I have this monitor lizard that I want to throw away. Me and my husband, we have been looking for a person that we can give this monitor lizard to, even if it is a prophet or if it is a pastor, someone that wants to grow their church. Maybe it can help. And if they can work with this monitor lizard can help them to become rich. As for me and my husband, we have failed to meet the conditions that it wants, because it wants me and my husband to sacrifice our son. But the problem is that we cannot get to where our son is because of our daughter-in-law. When we go out at night to bewitch him, we see our daughter-in-law as a hedge that would be covered in thorns, and our son would be inside that hedge, and we are unable to get to where our son will be. So this thorny bush, it is the prayers of our daughter-in-law. Whenever she raises her voice unto God, whenever she prays, then God sends a covering upon her life, and then that covering also covers our son. We have been trying to get close to our daughter-in-law to bewitch him, but we can't. And now we are being troubled by this monitor lizard, for it wants blood. My name, you'll call me Memory, and it has been 9 long years that I have been living in this battlefield. It has been a war, a silent battle that is between me and my daughter-in-law, and I can't stand to see my son being truly happy. When I heard that my son was about to get married, I told my husband that I was not going to approve of that marriage. My son right now, he is working, he is in South Africa, so I always wanted my son to return back home and to marry a woman amongst his own people. And we already had eaten someone's money after we had gone to them and we had promised them that my son, since he has a good job in South Africa, then when he comes, he is going to marry your daughter. During those years, there was a drought, and as for my son, he had not yet settled properly in South Africa, so we needed money to even send him money. So there was this other businessman in our village. He had a very beautiful daughter, but she was someone that was very promiscuous, and he then said to my husband, I want you and your wife to talk about this. I want us to be in-laws, because look at what my daughter has been doing. I want her to find a good man, and I think that your son is a good man. If he marries my daughter will start to behave properly, and I can assist him in other business ventures that he would want to venture into. But when we told my son about this issue, my son totally refused, and he said that he did not want to take that woman for a wife, because the woman had even slept with his best friend, and he said, what will I think of when I have taken this woman, knowing that they once shared a bed, she once shared a bed with my best friend? It means that wherever I would go to, I won't have peace in my heart, because I'll keep on thinking about what they used to do with my best friend, and I will think that maybe they can do it again. So For that reason, I cannot be with her. When she told us that this was what he had decided, we thought that maybe he was just joking. When he returned back to Zim, we tried to force the woman into his life, but he refused. He then returned to South Africa and he told us that he had found a woman who was his choice and he wanted to be with that woman. We then said, okay, it's fine, but I did not agree with it. I told him that I'm not going to give you my blessings as a mother, and if you are going to marry that woman, you have to find somewhere else where you are going to build your house, because your father has said that he does not want to see you here and he is going to give the piece of land to another person since you have refused to listen to me and your father. We thought that if we threatened him that we were not going to give him a piece of land for him to farm and to build his house with his wife, then he was going to dump the woman. But my brother, they just crossed the street, they spoke with the village headman and they bought a piece of land. After we had done this, that was when we realized that we had made a mistake, and our son, he had turned his back on us and we still needed him to take care of us. This gave me so much bitterness. If I take you a little bit in the past, my mom, she was also a bitter woman. I was raised by my mother, who was a single woman, so she had so much bitterness in her heart because of the things that she said my father had done to her. So she passed on that bitterness towards me. And when one of my brother got married, the way that she used to treat her daughter-in-law, that was the same way that I was now treating my daughter-in-law. I never gave her the chance to understand her, to get to know her better, to know what kind of a person she was. All that I saw, she was an intruder. She was someone that had came into our lives so as to disturb the peace that we had, and I wanted her out of my son's life. I thought that if I can get her out of my son's life, then it was going to help me, but I did not know that I was starting a spiritual battle that was going to take all of these years to drain me completely, to make me lose the livestock that we had, and on top of that, to inherit this topology that we inherited from a traditional healer. When they came to Zim for the Christmas holidays, I started to humiliate my daughter-in-law. She was a humble person, because if she was not a humble person, we could have fought. The day when they arrived, you know what I did? I told her that I did not even want to see her at my place, but she remained quiet until one of my husband's relative came and took my daughter-in-law and my son. They went and they slept there because he had heard that this was what I was doing, and they tried to tell me that it was not a good thing for someone to be treated in a very cruel way like that. But I saw myself as a person that was doing something that was right, because this woman, she did not deserve to be part of my family. So after we had fought, when I saw that I was unable to do any harm physically, I then went to a prophet. It all started with a prophet, and I saw that most of these red garment prophets, they know their stuff, they know what they do. When I went to that prophet, I then told the prophet that I wanted some charms. At least I wanted some charms that could help me to make sure that my son was going to dump this girl that he was dating. And the prophet then said that we were supposed to create some charms. This is how we did it. The prophet told me to go and buy a clay plate, the ones that they use in the red garment churches. I went and I bought that. I was then told to look for a chicken. This chicken that I was supposed to look for, it was supposed to look like a guinea fowl that had feathers that were mixed grayish, black and white. I then looked for such a chicken. After I had found it, that was when I went to that prophet. He then started to assist me. He took one of his chickens, which was pure white. I had to give him his money later on. After he had taken that chicken, he then took this other girl. There was a girl there that had been brought by her parents. She was being tormented by a demon, and this demon, it was the spirit of a person, pretending to be the spirit of a person that had been killed by the girl's relative, and that demonic spirit was troubling that girl, saying that it wanted the relatives to repay it with some cows and for blood to be spilled to the earth. So that girl, since she was under the possession of a demon, she was then brought forward and she was told to kneel down right next to me. And after she had knelt down right next to me, then the prophet gave me those 2 chickens. The prophet told me that I was supposed to use the first chicken that had feathers that looked like a guinea fowl, and I was supposed to make a circle on top of a head, and saying that all the negative energy that is inside this girl, I want all of that energy to enter into this chicken. I want that energy to enter into this chicken. I kept on doing this for 6 times, and I did this 6 times, 3 times. And after I was done doing that, then I was told that I was supposed now to place that white chicken on the floor. We had already tied its feathers as well as tying its feet so that it won't run away. I was then told to start doing the same thing on top of that chicken, making a circle, and I was saying the negative energy that is now in this chicken, meaning the chicken that looked like a guinea fowl, I am now transferring all of that negative energy. It must go into this white chicken. I did as I had been instructed to do, and then that white chicken, it started to shake violently, and then we had its bones as they were being broken, and I was given a knife and I was told to cut its head off as quickly as possible whilst its blood was still warm. Then there was a big pot that was brought that was full of boiling water. I was then told to soak that chicken into the boiling water, and then I was told to remove its feathers and to cut it into several pieces. I returned back home, and I had been given an instruction to cook food that night to stop my daughter-in-law from cooking. So when we started cooking the soft porridge and the chicken that I had brought, which had a curse, I cooked and I told my daughter-in-law to rest. She was even surprised. And what I did not know was that she then went to the spare bedroom to pray, and she had a revelation that she was not supposed to eat the chicken that I had cooked for him. So she then said that since they had stayed in South Africa for almost a year without returning back home, she mixed okra, and then one of my daughters then started cooking for the okra for him. I felt so much anger in my heart when she said that she did not want chicken because in South Africa they eat a lot of meat, and she just wanted to change to eat some vegetables for a change, and she did not eat the chicken that I had cooked. Everyone was surprised when my daughter-in-law said that she did not want to eat the chicken. I then said, no one is going to eat chicken today. We are all going to eat the okra. I took that pot that was full of the chicken. I then went outside. When I went outside, I then called the dogs and I fed the chickens to the dogs, and those dogs, where they went to, no one even knows. I then returned back to that prophet and I told the prophet that this was what had happened. The prophet then said, worry not and fear not. This is what we are going to be doing. Since you have already bought the clay pot, the blood of the chicken, I still have it. When I slaughtered that chicken, he had collected the blood and put it inside of the clay plate, a padlock. When he brought that padlock, he then told me that he was waiting for this other carpenter. So there was a carpenter that came, and this carpenter was given money by the prophet. And after that carpenter had gone, then the prophet told me that we were supposed to wait for his brother, who is a traditional healer. So this prophet, he was also working as a traditional healer. You have to ask him if you want to be helped using the Christian way or the traditional way. So this carpenter, he had made 2 dolls for him that were made out of wood. So the other one was meant to represent my son, and the other one to represent my son-in-law. Then there was a red cloth that was taken. This was done when the other traditional healer it came. He was the one who did it. He then tied those dolls together, but first what he did was that he put the padlock in between those 2 dolls, and then he broke that key. And after he had broken it, and he then said, just like I have broken this padlock, you are never going to be joined together again. And when he tied those dolls together, they were not facing each other. The other one was facing to the left side, and the other one was facing to the right side. And he said, just like what these dolls are like, you are never going to agree on anything. I have separated you officially, just like what is written in the Bible. Whatever that is joined together here on earth, heaven knows that it will be joined together again in the courts of heaven. And then that was when I was given the clay plate, the dolls, and I was told to smash an egg on top of those 2 dolls. I was told to do it with so much force and with so much anger. All the anger that I had in my heart, I was told that I was supposed to let it out when I was busy smashing the egg on top of those 2 dolls. I went outside and I did as I had been instructed to do. I waited for other people that were being helped, and then we got into the traditional healer's car. We drove for about 2 hours. We arrived at this other beautiful cave which has a waterfall, and we then entered into that cave. For you to enter into the cave, you have to pass through the waterfall. And when we got inside the cave, then we were told that this was a burial site for people that lived many centuries ago, and we wanted them to keep that covenant so that it can never be broken, like never. And we left everything in that cave, and I returned back to my compound. I did not know that God was going to fight in my daughter-in-law's corner. I waited to hear the news that they were now fighting. This was after my son and his wife had returned back to South Africa. Each and every time when my son will send a message for me on my WhatsApp, I will run to open the WhatsApp thinking that I was going to hear some news that they have been fighting, but each and every time it will be a disappointment for me, because they would be planning about what they wanted to do in life. I told myself that I had to upgrade. The people that had assisted me, they had shown me the way. I wanted someone that had more power. Then that was when I was assisted by another man. His forefathers, they migrated from Malawi and they were traditional healers. I then went to a place that is called Zimba. That was when I met a traditional healer who assisted me. This traditional healer told me what was needed for me in order to be able to break my daughter-in-law's marriage. He gave me the charms. He gave me knives, a knife that I was supposed to leave in my daughter-in-law's house. I forced my son, and I told my son that I wanted to visit him. My son told me that since I did not have a passport. He did not want to take that risk of me traveling from Zim. And I said, I know a Malaysia who can get me across the border. But my son kept on refusing, and he said, I don't want that to happen. I then sold one of my livestock, and I then went and I collected my passport after I had applied in Harare. And after the passport was out, I then spoke with my son, and I told my son that I was on my way. What they did not know was that I already knew where they were staying. The people that bewitch you, they know where you are and what you are doing, because as for my daughter-in-law and my son, I could see them on the walls. When the sun would be setting, I would see them on the wall as if I was watching a TV. I then went to South Africa and I left a knife. This knife that I left, it was inside one of these other old mattress that I found in their home, the one that I was using. So I knew that they were not going to check it, and even if they were going to throw it away, they would have divorced each other. I waited, but it did not work. The healer from Rimba then told me to come back to his shrine. I rushed back to his shrine. That was when he said that he wanted to give me a monitor lizard, but this could not be done without my husband acknowledging and accepting that covenant, because I am just a woman, and this monitor lizard, it will follow his bloodline until God has decided otherwise. So, Brother Nanshi, I was then given a charm to use, and my husband, when I spoke with him, he agreed. I had this charm underneath my tongue. We then went to Rimba, where we were assisted. We were given a monitor lizard, which we feed with porridge that is made out of sorghum, and that is all that it is surviving on right now. But it is saying that it is hungry, and hungry for blood that is all that it wants, the blood of a human being. So we are scared to keep on trying our daughter-in-law, because when I tried to send this monitor lizard to go and attack my daughter-in-law, it returned back. It was dripping blood, and I asked it what had happened, and then it told me that what had happened was that when it tried to enter into the room which my son and my daughter-in-law were sleeping, then it saw a thorny bush that fell from the sky, and it tried to flee, but it got entangled into that thorny bush. So whenever my daughter-in-law is praying, then there is a covering that descends upon him and her husband, who is my son. So I want someone who is willing to take this monitor lizard from me and my husband, since we cannot use it and we can't sacrifice our son. We tried to tell it that it can choose from amongst my husband's relatives, even their children, but it refused, and it said the reason as to why you took me, it was because of your son. Since your son is the one that is messing up, he messed up your life by bringing this wrong woman, then I need his blood so that I can be satisfied each and every time when I went, and when her prayers will destroy me, I want the satisfaction of drinking his blood. So we can't sacrifice our son, no matter how hard we try. If there is anyone that is willing to get this from us, then we are willing to give it away. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Let us try to speak with our dear sister in the comment section. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Yo.